The desert base was quiet that evening, the kind of stillness that only comes after a long deployment. The air carried dust, diesel, and the distant echo of a generator. Inside Hangar 4, the mechanics worked late, rebuilding a turbine that had seen too many sandstorms and too few replacements. Lieutenant Mira Cole was among them, sleeves rolled up, her face streaked with oil. She wasn't supposed to be here. Her assignment was logistics, paperwork, transport manifests, requisitions. But Mira didn't like sitting behind a desk. When something needed fixing, she showed up. It didn't matter that she was the only woman in the hangar. Most of the guys respected her. Some didn't. One of them, Sergeant Blake, had been drinking from a flask since sundown. He was tall, loud, and had been reprimanded more times than anyone could count. But he had friends, and worse, he had rank over a few of the younger mechanics. Mira had caught him falsifying a maintenance log earlier that week, signing off on parts that had never been inspected. She'd reported it through proper channels. The CO promised it would be handled. But Blake found out who filed the report. That night, the hangar emptied slowly until only a few were left. Blake, two of his buddies, and Mira. She was bent over a panel, focused on rewiring a fuel pump when he walked up behind her. "You think you're better than the rest of us?" he slurred. Mira didn't look up. "Go home, Sergeant. You're off duty." He stepped closer. "You think tattling to command makes you some kind of hero?" She turned then, eyes calm but firm. "I did my job. You should have done yours." His jaw tightened. The room went silent. His friends shifted uneasily, unsure how far this would go. Mira took a step back, hand near the tool tray. She didn't raise her voice. Didn't flinch. Then, in one sudden, reckless moment, he swung. The wrench he'd been holding hit her in the side of the head with a dull, sickening thud. The metallic clang echoed off the hangar walls. Mira dropped to one knee, blood tracing down her temple, eyes glassy but unbroken. One of the mechanics froze. The other cursed under his breath. Blake stepped back, realizing what he'd done. She shouldn't have. Before he could finish, the hangar doors burst open. Military police. Two of them rushed in, weapons drawn, not aimed, but ready. Behind them came a major, face pale, speaking rapidly into his radio. "Get medics. Now." Mira was conscious but dazed. 1-megapixel knelt beside her, pressing gauze against the wound. She waved them off weakly. "I'm fine," she muttered. "It's nothing." But her voice was trembling. Within minutes, an ambulance arrived. Blake was already in cuffs, shouting that it was an accident. The MPs didn't reply. They led him out as the rest of the hangar crew watched in stunned silence. No one knew then that the report from that night would travel far beyond the base. By morning, 3 helicopters appeared on the horizon, unmarked, matte black, with no visible unit insignias. They landed near the command center. From the first chopper stepped 3 men, each with 4 stars on their collars. 3 generals. The base commander, Colonel Ramsey, was already waiting on the tarmac. He saluted sharply, though sweat traced down his temple. "Generals, sirs, this is an unexpected." "Colonel," one interrupted. "Where is Lieutenant Mira Cole?" "She's in the infirmary, sir. Mild concussion, but stable." "And Sergeant Blake?" "In custody." The lead general nodded once. "Good. No one leaves this base. Effective immediately, this facility is under command audit and operational lockdown." Ramsey's face paled. "Lockdown, sir. May I ask?" "You may not," said the general, his tone like steel. "This comes directly from Joint Command." The words hit harder than gunfire. Within an hour, military police sealed all gates. Personnel were ordered to remain in quarters. Communications were restricted. Even the flight line was shut down. No departures, no arrivals. Rumors spread faster than orders. Some said the lieutenant was the daughter of a high-ranking officer. Others whispered she was part of a classified intelligence program. But no one really knew who she was, only that something about her mattered enough to stop an entire base. In the infirmary, Mira sat upright on the cot, stitches above her eyebrow. When the door opened, the air seemed to change. The 3 generals entered, flanked by MPs. Mira stood automatically. "Sirs." "At ease, Lieutenant," the lead general said quietly. His face softened as he studied her. "You shouldn't be standing." "I'm fine, sir." He glanced at the medic. "You can leave us." When the room was empty, one of the other generals spoke. Lieutenant Cole, you were not supposed to be here. Myra's expression didn't change. Respectfully, sir, I was assigned here under direct orders. Under orders, yes, said the first general. But under observation as well. You understand that? She hesitated, then nodded. I do. He stepped closer. You reported Sergeant Blake last week. Yes, sir. For falsifying maintenance reports. And when nothing was done, you followed up through the proper chain of command. I did, sir. The general's eyes hardened. That chain failed you. That's why we're here. Outside, the base stirred with confusion. Officers whispered. Radios crackled with restricted codes. Hangar 4 was cordoned off with military tape. Blake's name was scrubbed from every roster before noon. By dusk, new personnel arrived, special auditors, legal officers, and security units with clearance badges no one recognized. The men who had been drinking with Blake were quietly detained for questioning. The base commander himself was relieved of duty pending investigation. It was as if the entire installation had been erased and rebuilt in a day. That night, Mira sat alone in her quarters. The desert wind whistled outside, rattling the windowpane. She stared at the folded uniform on her bunk, blood still faintly visible on the collar. The door knocked once. The lead general entered again, this time without his escort. He carried a sealed envelope. Lieutenant Cole, he said quietly. We've concluded the immediate inquiry. Sergeant Blake will face court-martial. But this goes beyond him. She looked up. Sir. He handed her the envelope. Inside are transfer orders. You'll be reassigned, effective immediately. Your new designation is classified. She didn't open it. Why me? He studied her for a moment before answering. Because someone finally did the right thing when everyone else stayed silent. We need that. She nodded slowly. The general turned to leave, then paused at the door. You should know, he said, this base is being shut down permanently. Too much rot underneath. You exposed it. When he left, the sound of the door closing felt heavier than it should have. Mira sat in the dim light for a long time, the envelope unopened on her lap. Outside, convoys rolled through the night, trucks carrying classified equipment, personnel being relocated, records erased. The base that once buzzed with noise and bravado now stood quiet, its gates locked and its lights fading into darkness. By dawn, there was nothing left but sand and silence. And one woman boarding a transport plane under a new name, a fresh uniform, and orders that no one on that base would ever see. They would remember the night the base went dark, the day 3 generals arrived unannounced, and the quiet lieutenant who never raised her voice. But changed. Everything with the strength to report what others ignored.